Well, we started off with the Patrick Williams line from the mayoral race. Shreveport's on the verge of becoming Detroit. And you've cited statistics that when you think of Detroit as this, as Jerry Bowman said yesterday, sort of the hole in the donut, this empty center with all the good things around it on the edges. Is that what Shreveport is becoming?
Well, I think, Patrick's analogy is if you don't fix things, you could head to problems. And I think, I don't want to say Shreveport's Detroit yet. I don't think we're there. But I think Patrick is seeing and saw some of the signs. And one of the things that you looked at, we talked earlier about people, we talked about purchases, and property, is the third big one. And property right now in the market is very interesting because Shreveport never had the downturn that some the other parts of the country had. Shreveport historically been a very stable property market. If you invest in property here, you're not going to necessarily make a fortune investing in property in terms of the return on your investment, but you're not going to lose either. We've been a very steady, slow growth community, and for the most part, we're still hanging in there.
Is Shreveport more and more and more becoming a renter's town as opposed to a homeowner's town, which never helps ownership property values?
And I think that Robert, is the real key. One of the things we see, I've got some property numbers here. The total number of sales this year through the first, looks like 5 months of the year, we're almost right on pace. We last year through May, we'd sold 1,811 homes here in the Shreveport-Bossier area. This year through May, we've sold 1,850 homes. So you're seeing the level of home sales up a little, but about the same. Home prices are staying rather stagnant. We'll come back and talk about assessed value in just a second because we had a problem last year with assessed value. What we're seeing in Shreveport is the movement around town. And so in Shreveport specifically, when you look at the markets, you're seeing a very tight inventory for homes under 200,000, homes under 150,000. And a lot of those are turning into rental property. Shreveport's a great market right now.
That was going to be my question. How many realtors and or property owners are buying homes from people who are saying, I got to get the hell out of here, and turning those into rental properties? Is that a statistic that will show up 2, 3, 5 years down the line?
It will. We don't track whether a sale is being bought by an investor or being bought by a homeowner. On paper, it's the same thing. But one of the numbers we do track, I told you there's about 1,850 sales so far this year. 191 of those have been foreclosures. What is called a REO or a foreclosure. And that's not always a bad situation, but oftentimes it does signal that the homeowner was in some sort of financial trouble. They're either being relocated out of the community or they're being foreclosed on. And that's over 10%. That's about 10 to 12%. And that's a high number. And that's a number that we should be concerned about, because ultimately communities are built around people who own homes. This is not a Shreveport problem. The National Association of Realtors is very concerned. Home ownership has fallen to a 30-year low in home ownership. And so a lot of millennials, our younger friends, they're just not interested in a 30-year mortgage. They're much more interested in renting. They're much more interested in staying mobile. So a market like Shreveport that's been very stable for a long time is starting to see the warning signs. And I think the first warning sign was really last year when the tax assessor lowered assessed value for the first time in almost 30 years.
Let's talk about the impact of crime on our out-migration, our property values, etc. You obviously study this. What are you seeing in terms of the reasons people are giving for leaving?
The number one reason people give for leaving is jobs. And so jobs still tops crime as far as why people leaving. Crime is a funny statistic. Crime goes up and down. I think anyone that's living in Shreveport right now has a feel that crime is on the uptick. I don't know what the statistics are showing. I haven't pulled them up. They're not all often readily available. But crime is clearly ticking up in Shreveport. But a short-term or mid-term tick up in crime doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to pull up roots, sell my home, and move. People will move to DeSoto. They will move to Bossier. There's a feeling those cities are safer right now. But it's jobs. If the jobs aren't here, if my grandkids don't live here, if they now live in California or Dallas or Atlanta, then I'm going there. And the biggest problem I think we have generationally long-term in Shreveport is we're seeing our best, and I'm not the first to say this, you're seeing our best and brightest graduate our schools, those that, that want to go to college, and they're moving away and they're not coming back. And that's a trend, again, the National Association of Realtors looks at, and we're seeing really a cocooning of America. America is building on the coast, it's building in big cities, and we're not either of those.
Wow.